Hello everybody and welcome to another video from Oscar Cooper, and we're going to be doing a list update. This is an update to the top 10 single player offline PS4 games. It was about a year ago since I did the last one, so check it out first before you check this. I don't want to hear all that where's The Last of Us, where's The Witcher stuff. It's all in the previous video. Okay, we're going to start with Resident Evil 7, a game that's got quite a history and quite a backlog in regards to predecessors. You must know the iconic Resident Evil 4 that came out on the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube, an absolute game changer if you don't mind the pun. Resident Evil 5, a little bit weaker, it went towards that bullshit sort of glam Hollywood crap, and then Resident Evil 6 was a complete disaster. So the guys at Capcom needed to go back to the drawing board, and wow did they. This reeks of precedent Resident Evils. They put it to a first person view. It works really well. They've come up with some fantastic ideas in regards to story. I think they pulled in some really good writers. It certainly works. The game for me sort of harked back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You've got a lot of horror references in here. There's all kinds of weird shit going on in this house. The Baker family are absolute nutcases. As you can see, there's a Texas Chainsaw thing going on with it. It just keeps giving when it comes to suspense, when it comes to walking around that house. They put the bosses in some of the levels as a sort of wandering random encounter. This works really well with the AI, and just the visuals of this game are beautiful. This house, it reeks of atmosphere, decay, and just scary shit going on. One of the things that it did extremely well, and a bit of a risk for Capcom in my eyes, was make the game fully VR compatible, and it was one of the reasons that I was proud to own a VR system for the PlayStation. It was an exclusive, it really worked, there was no nausea, it was the most immersive, frightening experience I have had on a gaming console. I shit you not, it is absolutely brilliant. If you're into horror and you haven't tried this out on the VR headset, then go for it straight away. One of the things I'd also like about it is that the weapons and the ammunition, they're not too scarce. These boss fights are brilliant. I leave you with the death of the dad here. Next up is Final Fantasy 15, and this was a long time in the making, this game. I was a big fan of Final Fantasy 13 on the Xbox 360, and I actually played 5 and 7 on the older systems. I am not a die-hard Final Fantasy fan, but this game ticked an awful lot of boxes for me. What it stood out with is the character interaction. If you don't know the story, there's basically 4 of you, you're wandering around, you're sort of on a road trip, but it's these upgrades, all this really cool RPG stuff that you get to do. You get to pick the outfits, you get to go through all their weapons, you get to sort of customize them, give them their specials, add certain perks to them, you get to develop magic, you get to swap in and out certain elements of clothing that give them perks. There's also the ascension tree, there's leveling up on fishing. I mean, it's madness how in-depth this game is in regards to its RPG elements. People may have said that it's steered away from that and gone more towards an action RPG game, and things that prove that to me are basically this combat. This combat is quite refreshing, to be quite honest with you. You probably know that the Final Fantasy series has had a tradition with turn-based combat, and this is changed up now. You've got a dodge button, you've got an attack button, and you've got some buttons that initiate specials from the 4 characters. You can only play as the main character, but it's all about gearing them up and having them ready to support you. It's really clever how they've done this. It was a bold move, and it works incredibly well. I'm a big fan of like cool monsters and like, you know, crazy stuff in the sort of big world map. It's a bit like Monster Hunter with this. You get food for perks. You fight a huge variety of really weird stuff, and I think that's a really cool element. You get to also sort of grab foliage and different gems and all kinds of things that can be crafted and traded with. It hasn't really lost its Final Fantasy roots at all. Yes, next up we have Mass Effect Andromeda, the sort of bastard child of Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3, and it sort of stumbled and staggered onto this list, but it should be on this list because I've given the game quite a lot of playtime, and I've also got involved with it after that patch with all that crap that kicked off with that facial animation stuff and the glitching in and out. I mean, it's not a perfect game. I read a comment on one of my videos the other day that they've taken the sort of Bethesda style of construction, which means that it's got very little playtime testing, and it's sort of jumbled all together, and fingers crossed. But it is a strong game. It deserves to be on this list, and if you don't have an incredible internet connection or aren't into massive multiplayer games, this is perfect. It's a huge world, and there's loads of cool crafting and loot and weapons to be had. One of the best things about it is you get to kit out your team a bit like Final Fantasy, equip them all, give them all perks, order them around. There's not as much depth with the actual ordering that we've seen in previous games, but what I want to commend BioWare on is the world building that they've done here. The game is massive. You hop from galaxy to galaxy, discovering brand new worlds and encountering all kinds of strange stuff. They really have performed well on making this game look good. It may not run perfectly, but when you've got combat like this, who's complaining?
Let's see you deal with this. Pulling out the fancy moves.
So all is forgiven once you start shooting shit up. This game has got an incredibly slick combat mechanism, and it's great to use your special powers and get involved with some of the perks that you've installed on your teammates. There's a lot more verticality with this combat in Mass Effect Andromeda than the previous games, and it's a huge amount of fun and very tense. The cover works well, the jumping, the dodging. One of the things I love is encountering strange aliens on these planets and sort of working out their behaviours and watching them and killing them and getting all the loot that comes with that. Mass Effect Andromeda, not a bad game at all.
I'm the fear addicted, danger illustrated. This is pure insanity. I'm a fire star, twisted fire star.
Yeah, it's time for Just Cause 3, and with good reason. I was a big fan of Just Cause 2. I got to this game way too late. I've actually only owned it briefly, and it kind of inspired me to put the list together, to be honest. I was a huge fan of Just Cause 2, and the series to me is kind of like GTA. If you boiled up GTA and distilled it, you'd be left with all the kind of really cool stuff. Not to say that Grand Theft Auto doesn't or hasn't got all of that. This just shoves it all in your face all at once. You know, it's extremely gratuitous. It gives you what you want when you want. It doesn't hold back at all. It's full of action, and it's not a bad looking game at all. There's just so much to do in this world. It's a very pretty game. It runs very well considering how much is on screen all the time, and as a one player campaign there is so much to do in here. There is so much to unlock, so many challenges to be done, so many different vehicles to get to upgrade, etc. But the crux of the game, if you don't know, is just to cause as much destruction as possible. It kind of reminds me of the Saboteur. You might remember that game where you crept around in that game. You don't in this. You just brazenly blow everything up, and you have the ability to utilize motorbikes. You've got really cool cars, you've got boats, you've got helicopters, and it just doesn't hold back with giving you what you want. You can actually airdrop in anything, and it just says, yeah, there you go. As long as you found it in the world, unlocked it in regards to weaponry, all that sort of stuff, it will just keep giving to you. It's absolutely brilliant. Well recommended. So next we got the lovely Lara Croft in the form of Rise of the Tomb Raider, and we had to wait a long time as PS4 owners to get our grubby little mitts on this fantastic looking game. That's one thing I'm going to push with this synopsis, is that this game is absolutely stunning from a number of different directions. From a cinematic level and from a set piece level, just look at the detail on some of these temples and tombs, etc. I think it's a game that can directly compete with Uncharted 4. I know that's going to rustle a few jimmies, but the definitive edition is really a great package. One of the things that they've pushed with the development of this game is that there's a lot of crafting in here. There's a lot of strategic elements in regards to the outfits that you unlock, to how you actually have a play style with the game and what you upgrade at certain times, etc. That's pretty detailed.
All teams report in. What's the situation? Over.
We found another camp up here. Fire was still warm.
Combat in this series is some of the best combat I've ever seen in the Tomb Raider games. Laura's not going to be able to win any fights all guns blazing, so what they've done is they've broken it down, so you have to look at enemy camps, construct certain poison arrows, work out the weaknesses, spot flammable objects, use your environment and your brain against the enemy. It's a very cool idea. It's almost open world where you can craft and kill wildlife and put stuff together. I love that aspect of the game. That's incredibly well done. What you've also got thrown in here is a VR mode, can you believe? A fully fitted out cool bunch of VR missions that are actually in the manor itself. It's quite creepy, it's pretty detailed, it's really good value for money, this package. Yes, it's now time for me to go on about NieR, the game from Team Ninja, and whoa! Why do I love this game so much? Well, it's pretty damn simple. You're a complete fucking bona fide badass. Only trouble is, most of the enemies are complete badasses as well, but that doesn't stop it being an amazing Souls homage. What a fantastically deep, beautiful, samurai, ass-kicking game this is. If you're looking for a really good, deep, single-player campaign, you have come to the right place. Oh my god, and the loot just keeps on coming. It's everywhere. There's armor, there's helmets, there's dual swords and axes, and just even the shin pads are interchangeable. It's phenomenal. The bosses are, they're mind-blowingly difficult, but this game will last you a long time, trust me. The difficulty plateaus a bit, but get down there and enjoy it. NieR, wow. So now it's time for NieR Automata, and I've gone on about this game quite a lot actually. It's one of the most powerful games I've played in the last 5 to 10 years. There's a reason for that, and it's the story and it's the writing and it's off the wall, dark, sort of Tim Burton-y style weirdness that it's got going on here. One of the things that it's done very well is the combat. There's a reason for that, and it's platinum, and of course it looks great, it plays great. It's an open world RPG with sort of an action element to it, but there's all kinds of quests, different things to do, but the game is weird, but in a good way. The music is so well done, it's constantly changing, it travels with the game, it always changes your mood. The The game is constantly keeping you guessing with what direction it's going in, but at its bedrock, at its core, it's a very, very playable, brilliant adventure RPG with some of the best hack and slash to come out lately. I cannot emphasize enough how incredible a game this is. You must look at it.
Juliet, Juliet, where would I go, Juliet?
Of course, it's Horizon Zero Dawn, the last game on the list, and one of the most important games on the list also. It's a PlayStation 4 exclusive, it's made by Guerrilla Studios, and they really set out to achieve a mammoth task here, and that was to make an open world game that really pushed the system's graphics, and holy crap does this game do that. The enemies and the combat is tight as well, that's really welcome. There's a great crafting system in here that you can do on the fly, but it's these dinosaurs, these huge, fantastic beasts that you're fighting almost constantly. They've done a really clever job with the world building here on this game. There's Arctic, there's desert. As you can see here, there's some lush foliage. Look at that water flow past. The sunsets in this game are also incredible. I will always go back and play this because it's a great place to be. It's a brilliantly built fantasy world where you feel empowered, but you also are intrigued by this brilliant story that has got loads of layers to it. It's extremely deep what's going on with this game. Some of the subject matters that are dealing with are big. So Horizon Zero Dawn is the last on this list because it could be one of the best on this list.